And here they come. Likely without the paperwork to cross at official borders, these people have walked a long way to get out of Venezuela. Moving through bush, a river, and in the last moments, knowing they're being watched, they just melt back into the undergrowth. Though apparently, it's not Colombian border police they're worried about. A few cops do nothing. One finally speaks up. We asked if they'd let people through if the camera wasn't around, and the answer was maybe, because sometimes they're desperate. So a caution, when you hear official numbers of who's crossing, remember, no one's counting these people. Which means who's watching out for them when they walk out into the frenzy, where there's money on offer if they'll sell their belongings or even their hair. Sandra Negrin, 2 daughters in tow, still has wet boots and pants from the river crossing barely an hour earlier. Directed to a place for a free meal, the first food in a while, she's nervous enough about what's ahead to keep a little of it aside. Maybe that's dinner. The perennial question, what made you leave? Because I've had enough of the dictatorship, she said. I can't take them to a park because it's too dangerous and because my daughters go hungry. The meal done, she heads to the vendor who stored her bags, has no idea where the family will sleep this night. Someone gives her a Wi-Fi code, and she calls Venezuela. Don't tell my father I fell, that I hurt my back or scratched myself. None of that, please, she says. Just tell him I love him. So how did she physically get in? She points to people milling around at a wall. Below it, a hole.
See, this is what it's come to. The more the Colombian authorities crack down on the smuggling routes and the more the Venezuelans try to stop people from taking out anything they can to try to earn a bit of money, the more these unofficial and pretty dangerous routes just open up.
The smugglers didn't seem to mind the cameras being there until they started bringing out bags of meat, and we had to go. Organized crime is often behind this. Colombian police find a lot of smuggled meat. It infuriates them that there's little of it for average Venezuelans to buy, yet gangs can get it across the border to Colombia for real cash. That's what they wanted to do with the scrap metal and plastic chips and old car parts Border Patrol intercepted. The truck had snapped its axle crossing the river from Venezuela.
Every article that they can put in Colombia, the price is very, very high. We have problems with fruits, we have problems with oil.
The colonel seconded to this border from an elite intelligence unit in Bogota says they can't keep up. Policing some is a problem, caring for most others a preoccupation. Many are now walking all the way to Ecuador. There are no shelters along the way and not many places to eat. Unless, like the Maza family, you happen to come across cops who can't take seeing hungry kids. We were told we were going to be mistreated, Sonali Maza told us, and the truth has been the opposite. We're so grateful. The officers pooled their money and bought them dinner. Watch the little girl's face when it arrives. One meal secured, a few more kilometers traveled, a long way to go.
And it's not just the wave of people flowing from Venezuela. Getting to Colombia is a key step for migrants from around the world. It's hard to calculate precise numbers, but we do know some are headed to Peru, Ecuador, and Chile. Some have their eyes fixed on North America. This migration path truly is global. They come from Iran, India, Nepal, Nigeria, Eritrea, Congo, and China. Smugglers first help them get to Colombia, which positions them closer to Panama, the migrant gateway to North America. Now, for reference, here's where we are in Cúcuta, where the Venezuelans are coming in. But 600 kilometers to the west lies another big test for another group of migrants, the treacherous Darien Gap. Make no mistake, this is a brutal way to get to Panama. And last year, a smuggler took our colleagues at Radio Canada's Enquête right through it. There is no road. It is a thick, exhausting mix of jungle, mountain, and swamp. But migrants walk it, the evidence littered behind. objects too much of a burden to be carried, even the dead.
Así hay que llevarla muy suavecito, que vaya descansando. Cada 10 minutos sentarse y descansar un rato con ellos. Porque si uno no hace eso, hay personas que hasta se salen muriendo con uno.
This is a place where nature can kill you, but so can armed drug smugglers. And to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about, in 2016, Panamanian authorities caught 20,000 migrants coming from Colombia. The true number is probably much higher, but all who come are willing to risk a deadly way for the chance to get to the United States or Canada.